we all going? Mick here from Hop Cartel. So, for those who follow me on Instagram, Facebook, a few other social media outlets, will know that I'm no longer a part of World Home Brew Club. Yes, I'm wearing the shirt. The man's got to wear clothes. Wasn't much explanation given except for the fact that I was quite disappointed with the lack of interaction, lack of involvement from members. That's nothing personal towards those of you I still communicate with on other pages and through the social media avenues. Anyway, that's what it is. That's my reasoning. Tried my hardest to make it work for a very long time with the giveaways and plenty of involvement. That tapered off towards the end just due to lack of involvement. Goes around, comes around, I guess. Good for the goose, good for the gander, and like I say, no hard feelings. I may come back at some stage, but until then, I'm sort of doing my own things. I'm pretty busy with other avenues, so that's all good. So the main reason for the video is I've gone back to playing around with small batches just to perfect a couple of recipes. That's going to eventuate into other things down the track. So today I'm doing a mead, and I've also been doing a series of ciders. So the ciders, I'm changing one ingredient at a time, altering the same recipe, so it's the base, I guess what you call home brand apple juice, with a few other things added into it, and a few, one ingredient taken out, another one added through the series of six ciders. So today we're doing the mead, which should be the first video I've done in a long time. These, like I say, are all going to be small batch. So here I have party balloon. You may be thinking, what's he going to do with a party balloon? This is a pretty good trick I picked up through a lot of YouTube videos and stuff that I've watched. Seen a lot of blokes doing it. I should say a lot of home brewers, because there is home brewers of all walks of life out there. And my clear growler. This is the growler I use. I did have a flask at one stage, but this is the one I use to do my starters with. So basically, I'm going to do a basic ale yeast starter. Due to it being high alcohol, I'm going to use the whole 7 grams of the ale yeast. It is just a basic one. I think you pay like $1 for them. That's probably the ones that come with the Muntons extract kits, or the Coopers, or whatever it will be. I've kept them all. They're probably out of date, but I've been using them for the ciders and they've been coming out quite well. The other thing I've got is another basic ale yeast. With this we're going to make a batch of nutrients. So I've read up a little bit on it. You can use raisins to help with nutrients for your yeast when it's coming to ciders and meads. For those who aren't familiar with what a mead is a high alcohol, high ABV beverage made from bees' honey. You can also use agave syrup. Some would even add molasses or some sort of artificial sweetening syrups. So we're going to make the water quite warm. this has cooled down a bit, so I'm going to actually go and fill it up with some boiled water. So what we're going to try and do is, or what we are going to do is, we're going to kill off the yeast. So we're going to put this sachet of yeast into the test tube. This is a test tube. I must have had peppermint breath fresh or something that was in it. I'm not sure what it was. Might have been some sort of mouthwash, giving it a good sterilise. Like I say, I've got water in there, so the water's going to be quite hot. We're going to put the yeast into that to kill it off. Killing that off basically is the same thing. Your healthy yeast feed off your dead yeast. Thus, if we put a heap of dead yeast in there, those healthy yeast that we're going to make a starter with, they're going to go in there and they're going to start feeding off the sugars and start converting it to alcohol, and obviously they're going to start feeding off the dead yeast that's already in there. So it's giving your mead, your cider, your beer, whatever it may be, if it requires nutrient, a good kick off in the start. Back to the balloon. The balloon we're going to use as a I guess you could use cling wrap or you could use foil, but the balloon's actually going to go over the top of the starter bottle or the starter flask, and that's going to act as, I guess, similar to what an airlock would do, except there's nothing going to escape, and that the CO2 that's produced, some will escape. The balloon will only get so big, and then obviously it'll find its way out somewhere. But it's going to help slightly, I guess, get that starter going under pressure, and keeping as much as that CO2 in there as possible. The yeast are only going to require a heap of oxygen to begin with, because that's what they like in the start. But I feel a good tip: use a balloon. You can go and get a bung and an airlock to do a starter. You see that all the time as well. J-Man Charm Brewing, I see he has a little glass bottle that has a cork with the airlock. I'm not big on corks, especially a cork of a cork base, or a pure cork stopper, due to it being quite porous, and you may sterilise it, but it's just something about it I don't particularly, it sort of makes me cringe, but if it works for those guys using them, then why not? Cork's fine when it comes to sort of, like you're corking a carboy or something, and it's going to be used for spirits. All that stuff sort of gets boiled off anyway. So that's the use of the balloon. So I'm going to get some hot water, because that's cooled down a bit, like I say, and I'm going to kill off a packet of yeast. Okay, so we got the boiled water. I'm just going to stick that there like that. I've got to get myself a stand for the test tubes. I'm going to start harvesting a lot of yeast, because I've just forked out a hell of a lot of money for some Volt strains. Sorry, you can't see my head there. Some Volt strains, so liquid yeast. They only come around. Some come around every couple of months, some twice a year, some maybe once every year. They go back into the vault, and they get locked away. So Yeast Bay, there's a few others on the market that do the same thing. Basically, Starzan the crap out of everything at the moment. It's also, I guess, I've read up that it breaks down into a yeast nutrient as well. Same with peroxide based ones that basically now, the last time I done this, I put the yeast in first, and then I put the water in. There was a fair bit left in that packet, but we only need so much. And what happened was it all clumped down the bottom. So this time you can see, probably can't see it because of the sun shining through that door. It's slowly starting to absorb and starting to sink down. Turn it that way. so you can see it. Can also give it a good shake. Dissolve it all up. Now that is quite hot. That's obviously going to kill the yeast. There's no way the yeast are going to survive that sort of temperature. I think some yeast, flake yeast, they can survive temperatures up to around about 38-40 degrees. So that's a good 100 degrees there, probably less. It's been sitting a little while in the jug. Anyway, that can sit. What I'll do is I'll put it in the freezer, give it some time to kill it right off. It's definitely gonna, and then I'll put it into the freezer to cool down. And I'll get started on making the must, because I'm going to use part of the must to create my liquid for the yeast starter. Also, I'm going to, the recipe calls for 1 orange, thoroughly cleaned and roughly chopped. That will form part of the recipe. I did go to the shops earlier, I forgot to get an orange. So what I'm going to use in this particular mead is, we've got some nectarines. Been in the fridge since probably a month, I'd say. Still quite good. They're very ripe. I feel that they're probably going to be a good. I know fructose. You want to sort of not introduce too much fructose, but it's not good for you, and it's headache material. But I'm just going to use 2 small ones, which is probably equivalent to an orange. I think why they use an orange, I don't know. It's vitamin C. The other parts of the ingredients are cinnamon quill. I don't have the cinnamon quill, but I've got ground cinnamon, dried ground cinnamon, and I'm also going to use an allspice as well. It's all optional on that recipe. You can make a basic. The outcome of this recipe is 8 to 9%. I tried one last night. It was a commercial product called Mead from Dan Murphy's. It's only 4.5%. It's obviously it's a light base. It sort of tasted like a watered down lemonade. Didn't appeal to me at all, really. It's not what a mead's about. I don't call it a true mead. It's not even close. But just to get an idea, because I've not made meads before. Actually, no, I've made one, but it never eventuated. Never made it to bottling. The particular mead's going to sit for 3 months, and we'll do another one after that. It's going to stay in the one vessel for the 3 months in a dark, cool place. I'm going to test a few of the areas around the house because I want it to sit pretty much at a constant temperature. Really, they should be on the warmer side of fermentation than on the cooler side. There's varying opinions on that, but from the feedback I've been given and the research that I've done, it's the better meads are the ones that are on the higher side of fermentation and storage temperatures. We're not talking hot or anything like that, nothing sort of above that. I think 35, no higher, if you're going to do it that way, would probably be good for it. You'd get a lot of that, like that fusel alcohol that you expect with a mead. The recipe, depending on how it turns out, like I say, it's going to take a while before I get to taste it. May be altered for the next one. So I've actually gone out yesterday, and because I've only got the one small batch 5 litre carboy, I've purchased another one. They're relatively cheap. It's $20 for the carboy, and the one I brought comes with the swing top cap, which should be good once the the mead's finished fermenting, and then I can I'll just cap it. And I've read that they can continue to ferment away for a long period. I may even just decide to leave the cork and the airlock in it, and just try and keep the airlock as clean as I can throughout that time. So I went and purchased one yesterday. Yeah, $20 each for the 5 litre carboys, or how you pronounce it, demijohns, or whatever they call them. The cork was still at $3.20. I had the spare airlock here at home. I've got plenty of those airlocks. Newcastle Brew Shop. Kurt was away. He's actually sold the shop. Newcastle there on Islington Road. For those who know that shop. Kurt went on overseas, Bali or something like that, I think he mentioned. Come back. He sold the shop before he left. He received an offer he couldn't refuse, so he jumped on it. He's still working there 2 or 3 days a week. Good bloke. So he's basically $23 even. He's called it. Should have been $23.20, but give me a 20-cent discount. I still think it's a fair price to pay. Some of those cider kits you buy, some Bruce Smith or other ones like that, they want $80 something for a basic recipe. Your 5 litre carboy, it's got yeast nutrients and all that kind of stuff that comes with it, but you know, for a fraction of the price. A lot of us have been brewing for a while. We already have the stuff that we need. We've just got to go out and buy the vessel. That's got star sand in it. The starter bottle's got star sand in it. Everything's pretty much been sanitised. Give that another shake, put that into the freezer, and we'll get going on the process. Okay, so the recipe calls for 1.6 kilos of honey. We've got just under 1.6, so we're going to have to alter the recipe a bit. So here I've got an ice cream container. You see she's steaming away. It's quite warm, it's fresh out of the jug. It's been sitting for probably 10 minutes. So we're just going to soak the containers in the hot water. It's quite warm here in Newcastle. It's probably not needed, but the thinner we can get it, the better it's going to mix too with the top up we're going to do with the water. I'll also introduce half a Camden tablet, just to help balance out the water profile here in Newcastle. We've found a few local brewers have been using Camden tablets, a whole Camden tablet to a 23 litre batch. So I might not even use half of one, but to help the water profile, they've found that sometimes it's all that's needed for certain beers here in Newcastle, and obviously it's just to help kill out the chlorine content that's in our water here in Newcastle, which is quite high in chlorine. So we've all been playing around with the Camden tablets. I think it was Stas Brewing, that's one of his videos I watched, put me onto it. So he's found good results. I've done 3 beers using Camden tablets. Found it works quite well with the profile. It does help eliminate a lot of that chlorine. So all for the Camden tablets. So while that's sitting, it is quite runny. It's quite, like I say, it's quite warm in Newcastle. It's probably not needed to soak it in the warm water, but anyway, it's helps it to become. Honey's pretty sterile anyway, but yeah, it also helps to, sterilise some of the container. Funnel's been sterilised. I'll have to set the funnel up, get the vessel all ready. That's a good cork, that one. It's quite large. Very long taper on it. I found that's to be good. The only problem with that silicone cork is when the inside of the carboy is wet and the silicone's wet, you're pushing in, it pops straight back out again. Especially with the stars in, it's a little bit soapy. Give that a shake. I know it's got stars in there, it's going to hit my hand anyway, but I'll just spray a little bit of that on my hand. People don't like handling stars in. If it's mixed too strong, it can cut you to pieces. It's like abrasive on your skin. And it does dry it out. I just tipped that. You didn't see that on the floor. And I'll give it another fresh hit. Okay, so that's you'll see what I mean when I spray this cork and I push it in. It just wants to keep popping back out again. So I found if I just might have to use a towel on that. Anyway, that's sanitised. So I'm going to make the must, and then from there we're going to I've got the Camden tablet ready to go. Yeah, okay. So I'll once I'm set up, I'll be right back for the video. Okay, so funnel's ready to go, carboy's ready to go. The half a Camden tablet's in there. I haven't crushed or dissolved it. It might dissolve itself, I think, once we get a bit of warmth into there. I'll start off with the jar, which is quite warm. And the honey. This honey's local as well. It's my wife's boss has some hives. Smells quite good. So I'd have a mixture of blossoms, I guess, being whatever's local would be ironbark, blue gum, yellow box. I don't know what sort of gum trees we have here. Okay. Beautiful. Put that bit back on. Giving back the buckets and the jars. Okay. Just going to pull the lid off. This one. This one smells different. There we go. To go nice and slow. Still quite thick. Doesn't go through the funnel real well, but sorry you guys can't see that. Might just move that camera back a bit. There we go. Alright, so I know this is a kilo bucket, and a kilo bucket's going to probably hold a kilo of a litre of water. Density's a lot different, but anyway. That's going to make some nice mead. Alright, so we're making the must, and I'm going to top this up. I'm going to get my nectarines ready as well. They can go in after I make the starter, the must for the starter. So I'm going to go and get some cool water. I'll start off with some warm water first, just so it's a little bit warmish to help it mix through. Hopefully the sound quality is good on this video, guys. I'm having the dramas, only using the smartphone to make the videos, so hopefully the sound quality is good. If not, we can adjust it, maybe enhance it a bit more. And if the sound quality is good, it's either because it worked out fine or I fixed it. Okay, I've put some warm water in that. I actually removed the upside down, the swing top section off the bottle. I wasn't going to use it. Alright, so I'll just clip that down. I'm going to give this a bit of a shake whilst it's warm, and then we're going to add the cold. Alrighty. Going crazy with this star scene again. I'm probably not going to need much to go into that, am I? A bit more stars around the top. Alrighty, just going to move that over so you can see what I'm doing here. I've got my starter bottle. I'm going to tip some of this in. So I'm going to put the balloon over that now, mainly because I don't want any nasties getting in there, and I will spray the balloon because I've been playing with the balloon. I'm going to need some cold water to put into it. See that? I'll go and get some, because what we want to do is make this a thin, a little bit weaker solution than what we're going to have in here. It'll end up being the same event, but just to condition the yeast and get them ready for what's about to hit them, we'll stop it there, and I'll get myself set up for the next section. Alright, so we washing that jar out that we had there. It's just the time that goes into the. I want it to be 100%. Never was much of a honey person when I was younger. Used to love it on toast, but other than that, not much at all. Leave that shut. Spray my funnel again. I go crazy with the stars then, but alrighty. Let's pour that into there. It's quite a large starter for amount of liquid for what it is. Alright, I might get that yeast ready to go in. Actually, I might let it cool because that's warm. Don't want to make that mistake, do we? That probably went on the camera. Right, so what I'm going to do is, because I reckon, shivers, the budget yeast nutrient we've got in the freezer. Yes, cool. So I want that out. And I actually want it in where that starter is. It's probably going to be the best place for it. That's going to help kick it off quite well. Because that's cool, yeah, I think I'll do that. You've got to be an octopus when you're brewing sometimes. Okay, spray that lid. Put that back on. Let's get this balloon off. Okay, it's off. So yeah, I will tip that into there. Beautiful. Go back there. Use as much oxygen in these as possible. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this in and I'm going to top it up where it needs. Get my nectarines ready. And I'm probably going to use... I'm probably going to add some dextrose actually. Because my measurements are down. No, I won't add any extra sugars to it. I'll just leave it. And work out how I'm going to take my gravity. Cheers. Okay, so I've just poured off some for a gravity reading. Just put that can up. And I'll get that yeast into that must in a minute. Firstly, I'll just show you, I've topped it up to where I want it to be. Colour's looking good. That tablet didn't break down. Oh well. Okay, we're sitting at a 1099 to the 10100. It's pushing up. It's very the viscals right on that 10-100 line. I think some of them were actually not even registering. I think they were sort of up here at a 10-110, some of the recipes. I was only about 200 grams off for the 1.6 kilos required for the 5 litre recipe, so I did adjust that with a bit of dextrose. It tastes quite nice. It's basically it's got a lot more flavour profile than what I had last night in that Mead commercial mead that I purchased. So I'm quite happy with how it's going so far. Time will tell. Get ready to do a full wipe down of everything. Everything's sticky. Dextrose powder, obviously, the wind blowing, everything's floating around. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the reading on that. Give you an idea of the colour. The mead I had last night out of the bottle, it was crystal clear. Not sure I'll get that crystal clear with mine. We'll see how we go. So I'm going to add the nectarines, sanitise those. They've had a good wash. I'll just sanitise them and then cut them, get rid of the seed, and however I can fit in. I think quarters, I put quarters in. So 8 nice slices, small slices of nectarine going into the mix as well. Firstly, I'm going to put the yeast into the must. I really do hope this basic yeast with a decent starter and some nutrients. I may have to, I think I should have went and got raisins, but we'll see how we go. I think there'll be enough in this. I've done it again. I've only got to try and don't you blow over. Otherwise I've got to wait 10 minutes for another yeast to get back to temperature. Alrighty. It did, it fell over. Oh, it didn't lose any, which is good. Yeah, that's got a lot of give the packet a bit of a flick. That come out really good actually. Nice. A bit more of a spray. Balloon back on. Oh, that's quite strong. That must have been a, don't know what sort of yeast that was. Pulverise it. Hopefully it starts doing its thing. That balloon's already standing up. It'll be interesting to see what sort of shape that takes as the starter progresses. I'll start doing some small sections of video on the progress of this starter. Other than that, I'll get the fruit ready for it and wait for this starter to create some action. Alrighty, so I've cut the fruit up. I'm a bit worried about this because I didn't purchase any mead yeast, so hopefully it goes alright. So it's a white flesh nectarine. People add all sorts of fruit, I guess. I got frozen bananas and frozen coconut, frozen blueberries. I think mango in there. Stay away from mango. I've not had much luck with brewing with mangoes. the other thing I read up was a particular recipe that was using pineapple and coconut in a mead. I think that'd be quite interesting. So I've got a ripe pineapple in the fridge, but it's been in there since Christmas, so it would be very ripe. So yeah, I'm not keen on that just yet. I might give it a go down the track sometime. Just add this fruit in. Let's bring this to the front. Oh, that colour looks awesome on camera. Okay. It's two small ones. Skin's still on. It's been sanitised, washed quite well. Say to make sure there's no seeds in any fruit that you put in to your things. I don't know if you're supposed to do this from the beginning, or I didn't read it properly. Maybe you're supposed to add it at a later date. I don't know. Who cares? It's done now. Lid on. That's it, brothers and sisters and the brewing brethren. Until this starter kicks off, that's it. We're just going to clean up now. Paper towel, I reckon, is probably one of the best things you can have in the brewery. Tarzan, sanitizer, some paper towel. This way everything gets thrown away that you're wiping down with. Alrighty. Video will start back up once we have some action. Cheers. Alright guys, back again. As you can see, we're about an hour or so in, and that starter's really taken off. So there you can see the balloon's working and it's slowly letting CO2 out. There's one step I forgot to do, and that's to add the allspice and the cinnamon. I'm just using cinnamon sugar. I've mixed the allspice into it. I wasn't sure how much to add, so I've gone with Brewer's Essential. Get the scales out. Yeah. It's about 5 grams. So 2.5 grams of each. Should do it nicely. Okay. Just spray the outside of that. Take that off. And I'm going to put the cinnamon and the allspice in first, because when I add the yeast, it's obviously going to help stir it up a bit, get it in there. And we've got a bubble on top there, wouldn't let the cinnamon and stuff go in. Okay, throw that in there. Spray again. Move this over here. Some of this one, give it a spray. Bit more of a mix around. That starter's gone really well, so that one will pop. that a spray. Oop, all over the camera. Give that a bit more of a stir. Done. Spray the lid. Clamp that down. That's ended up with the whole amount, which is good. Okay. Another shake. Really aerate it to get that yeast in there. As I said earlier, this silicon bung does not want to play the game, so I'll dry that right off. Pop this, and that won't want to stay in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep twisting it until it dries itself out. That ain't going to work either. That is a sanitised bit of paper towel. It is a bit damp. So what I'll do is beautiful. Get rid of that. Throw it into the bucket. Tarzan into the airlock, and there we go. Leads away. Pretty simple. It's taken a bit of time, but yeah, I'll just get some paper towel and clean it. Done. So tomorrow afternoon, probably late in the afternoon, I'll be bottling the second cider, which is the hop cider. We used Idaho Gem hops in that. Sort of a new hop variety from the United States. Hopefully that all goes good. Hopefully it's got some really good flavour. We should get ripe red berries, ripe red fruit, and candy lolly flavours from those hops in that second cider. Move that aside, and see how we go. That should be bubbling away within 10 or 15 minutes. The ciders have started up pretty quick recently. The ones that I've done, they've all started pretty quickly, so time to get all the gear cleaned up and plan the third cider. Thanks for watching. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Head on over to Instagram, the Hop Cartel and House of Lupulin, and also Hop Cartel on Facebook, and have a look at what we got going on there. A lot of this content will be uploaded to YouTube, Instagram, and the Hop Cartel Facebook page. Bits and pieces of it, just to keep those social media avenues generated. Thanks for watching.